Trauma to testimony encompasses the proclamation of the truth and narratives of believers who have endured trauma and shook up their pain and purposely walk daily in their victories, giving God their yes. We are standing and affirming Revelation 12:11 on this podcast. Listen, the surrender, the resurrection, overcoming trauma, the becoming better, the inner work you have to do, all heavy. Join me each week as we dissect the walk of faith we take as Christian women who have endured some of life's pain and struggles. We will dive into having the hard conversations to grow a deeper relationship with God. This right here is from my girls who have endured trauma but have a lot of Jesus. Hey, so I just wanted to hop on here really quick and let you know about the Trauma to Testimony membership. I am so excited to finally release this membership to the world. I am excited for what God is going to do. And I want to tell you a little bit more about the membership. So with the membership, let me give you the rundown. This is for my queens, my ladies, my women of God who are just in that place where they have been through some things, but you know what? My girl, she wants to have a lot of Jesus in her heart. So this is for my girl who is doing her best, to hand things over to God. For my girl who is finding power in what she has been through. And for my girl who has decided to live in her truth to create a better reality. This is for my girls who are showing up for Jesus. So, you may say, what is going on with this membership? What am I going to get out of this membership? In this membership, you will have the opportunity to be a part of monthly healing roundtable talks. Girl, I know that sometimes we need a friend when we're going through this healing journey and building our relationship with God. Come on now, let's talk about it. You'll get access to group and private prayer calls. Where they do that at? Quarterly challenges, access to live virtual podcasts, interviews, panels, and live in-person podcast events, access to exclusive content, resources, and an all-in resource directory, Bible studies, and book club. I am so honored just to see what God is going to do through the membership. So this is everything that you will need to help you level up and become the woman of God that you are called to be. Okay? So if this sounds like something you would love to be a part of, the link to sign up for the membership is in the show notes, and we cannot wait to see you a part of the membership. We want to come in and give you a virtual hug and get the healing and building our relationship with God journey started. See you in the membership. Welcome back to the Trauma to Testimony podcast. Hey, Resilient Queen. Hey, girl. So we are now to another week, and we are continuing our God, I Am Triggered series, and I am so excited just for today's episode. I know that we have been talking about some things over the last few weeks about in this series and about triggers, and it's been a lot, and I love the feedback that I have been getting as well. That's one thing, that I'm gonna be real about it, and God has really been working on me with sharing just my journey and what I have been through and building my relationship with God, coming out of trauma, healing that trauma, and really just being a better woman each day from healing. So I love that you guys are getting it
in the perspective of, oh my God, I love that this is so real on the podcast. It's a real perspective. And that's one thing that I'm striving to do, even though it's, been presenting a little bit of challenges, telling and revealing parts of me. But one thing I know that, me doing that, God always has my back, and God is going to cover me and protect me. And to just be obedient. That's the one thing that I'm doing throughout this process, is just being obedient and showing up. So today we are going to be talking about, God, I am triggered. Should I go to therapy? Woo. I know this week's episode is going to be that one, because the reality of it is, a lot of us need a space where we can process things. But a lot of us don't go and seek that space because some of us are unaware of how to go about seeking that space. And some of us are just, maybe coming from families or households who do not, just may have never gotten therapy, don't talk about getting therapy, don't talk about getting the professional help that they need to process something through. And then there's another population of us special people that Jesus and therapy just don't make sense. It's like, if I'm praying to God, if I'm fasting, if I'm doing all the things, why do I need to go to therapy? And the reality is, a lot of that has shaped a lot of broken people and people who have been through hurt and pain and who have been traumatized and who have been through some things, to be out in the world and not have the proper tools to get through life. And one thing that I know really helped me on my journey to healing was therapy. And I can only go from my experience. This is not an episode to force you to go to therapy. This is not an episode that serves as therapy. The podcast doesn't serve as therapy, and I just want to make that very clear. So, proceeding on, therapy has been instrumental in my life personally, healing from trauma, because I needed a space where I could process everything. I needed a space where I didn't have, someone who already knew me, someone who maybe was biased, someone who, had their own perspectives on, maybe my situation. Like a friend is gonna, a true friend is gonna take up for you. A true family member who is there for you is gonna take your side. I wanted someone who had just a brand new perspective, and honestly, when I first went to therapy for real, in 2018, it really changed the way I started seeing my situation and everything that happened to me. And also through that process, I started deepening my relationship with God. So just to give you a backstory, I can remember in 2018, I started my first job. I was driving an hour and 30 minutes to work. I was on 285 in Georgia, in the Gwinnett area in Georgia. And it was hectic. Let's just say every morning there was a car crash. Every morning there was traffic. Every morning felt like chaos going to and going from outside. Now, the chaos wasn't in my car, because that was when I had my quiet time with God on my car rides to home, and on my car rides from home to work. I had my my quiet time with God. So in the midst of that journey, and I was at my job at the time for two years before I left and found something closer to home. And I can remember just the growth that happened in that time and how God was growing me. And I can remember knowing that, this time was so critical for what was going on in my life. And I remember just the message that God gave me to go to therapy. And at first, I didn't know where to look. I didn't know how to look. I didn't know what to do about it. I was like, okay, therapy, what? My first thing was just those overwhelming thoughts of, people just labeling me when I was young. Those thoughts came right back up. Like, you're going to turn out crazy. This is what's going on. You got to go to therapy because of this and that. And all those things started circling me. And I remember just the overwhelm of even finding a therapist and how overwhelmed I got. And at the midst of me almost giving up, I found my therapist. And I could remember just the breakdown I actually had before I found her and trying to tell her what was going on when she was asking for my background and how much overwhelm I was in. I couldn't even really talk. And I just really want to speak to just that woman who maybe did not have a voice. Because that's the thing. A lot of the times when we have been through things in life, or when we have been traumatized, or where we have felt like we never had a space to express our emotions, then we come to a place where we accept everything as, oh no, I don't want to talk about my feelings or emotions because honestly, I don't know how to talk about them. And honestly, from time to time in the midst of my life, I have never been given the space to talk about them. So when we have those situations in those instances, we don't always have the courage to speak up. And we don't always have the courage, honestly, to have that voice in our lives to say that, you know what? No. I need the help. I need to get the help that I need. I need to take this time to make sure that the resources that may be available to me, that I'm using it, that I'm actually, cultivating a space where I can express my emotions, where I can process through things, where I can get the help I need and maybe bounce some ideas back up off of my therapist so that I can make sure that I'm healthy. A lot of us, and I know this is cliche and I know it's been said a lot of times, like a lot of us go to a doctor if we break a bone or have a sprained ankle, but who are you going to when your heart is broken? Who are you going to when you're transitioning through something new? Who are you going to process through a new life chapter? Who are you going to? And, a lot of the times we get so complacent in just surface level work and healing work with ourselves. And I noticed that within myself before I decided to go to therapy back in 2018. And when we're complacent with our healing journey and only stopping at the surface, we're never dealing with what's underneath the surface. So we're going on and going through life, continuing to suppress things, and we're no longer digging and doing the work that's needed. We're no longer trying to get to the depths of a situation, and when it comes back up, now we're experiencing moments of being triggered, but we don't even know really what triggered us. We just know that this situation happened, it made me upset, and honestly, I just want to sit in that upset emotion, or I just want to sit and be angry. But the truth is, that same situation is tied to something that happened in the past. And when you actually take the time to work and heal the root cause of that thing, you will notice the growth in yourself. And that's the one thing that I noticed, that, a lot of the situations that I was ending up in led back to my voice. And I want to tie this in for a moment of, getting the help that you need, especially in those moments when you're triggered, to be all that you're supposed to be and all that God has called you to be. So a lot of the times we can't get to the next part of us or the evolution of ourselves because we haven't dealt with what's in front of us. We haven't dealt with the things that internally hurt us and bring us pain. We haven't dealt with it. So our much higher self or our elevated self or who we're called to be can't be reached because we're too busy struggling to get out of drowning under pressure and under the past and under what, our past traumas were. We're so busy in that we can't even breathe to figure out the next. And that right there is hindering just who you are as who you are. It is hindering your evolution. It's hindering your growth. And sometimes in some instances, we need to know a part of us, the revelation that comes in therapy, the revelation that comes with knowing yourself, the revelation that comes in the awareness piece of therapy. We need to know who we are and who we truly are, not who trauma told us we were, not who the people who traumatized us told us who we were, and not who you believe you are because of the lies that someone fed you. You need to know who you are for yourself. And that can come from therapy work. So I know the dying question is, and I hear this a lot, why do I need therapy if I'm supposed to go to God? So let's talk about it. So the thing is, and I'm going to go back to the surface level. Thinking that we have, in a surface level healing that we have. A lot of us are still in a phase of not really having true, authentic relationship with God. And a lot of us, our trust, our ability to even have the willingness to pray, our thinking patterns, our choices in life, our past traumas and hurt and pain, all of those things come from a place, right? And the thing is, when it comes to us building our relationship with God, we build and seek God and see God that way. We don't always intentionally try to do it that way. But a lot of us are walking around with trust issues with God because we've had trust issues with maybe our parents or friends or caretaker who was supposed to love us, who we didn't come into their lives with anything, but they were supposed to fill us with everything. A lot of us are having this broken relationship with God because we have came from broken relationships and we still indulge ourselves in broken relationships. So the thing is, the awareness of yourself that you need to cultivate in your healing process is going to come deeply and help and benefit you showing up in your relationship with God. And I'm only telling you this because I have experienced this for myself, that you not knowing yourself is blocking so many layers of authenticity and depth of a relationship with God. Because imagine you never doing the work. Imagine you showing up as maybe perfect Patty, or you showing up as this, this girl who, nothing never bothers you and nothing is never wrong and you're not going to deal with that. You're going to ignore that. Then all of those things are showing up to your quiet time. All of those things and those walls that you have built up, they're showing up with God. So God can't truly help and heal your heart because you won't allow access in. You don't even have the level of vulnerability to open up to God and let him really do a work in you. Because if God was to truly do a work in you, there would be a breaking. You would feel shattered. So that's just my perspective on, Jesus and therapy, because both of them work. And if I can be honest with you, God works through people. God works through situations. God works through us taking a step to make ourselves better. God works through that work part that comes after having faith. God works through that. And it's one thing I like to think of it is you taking the step to get the help that you need. God's going to multiply that blessing, because you getting the help you need is not only going to help you, but it's going to help your children. It's going to help your spouse. It's going to help your community. It's going to help in the positions that you serve. It is, because you becoming a better person is going to overflow into what you do and how you treat people. So that's just my encouragement, to get the help that you need, because let's be honest, it's good to say that we sitting up here, just, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here and things are going to get better. But let's be honest, the work needs to be done. Some of us sitting up here and praying on a situation that happened 10 years ago when God already told us to go talk back to that person. But we ignored that and pushed that to the side because we don't want to even be in a place of forgiveness. We don't even want to be obedient in that, because we know that we're going to have to unlock and work on some things. So just in that, therapy can also help with that too. So I just wanted to encourage just that woman who is going, to, like, she's in a space where she wants to get the help. She wants to do it, but she just needs an extra push. That maybe therapy might be that answer. And you know what I say? Try it out. Try it out. And don't give up after the first one. Try it out. Put in a few applications. Let it be like like how people, they do like the speed dating or whatever, but you just do it through, finding you a therapist. Find somebody that you like. Find somebody that you gel with. If you don't like the first therapist you get, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't think that we vibe in there, and it's okay to go find someone else. It's okay to look at multiple therapists. It's okay to look at just, what they specialize in. It's okay to, see, okay, do I want to do online? Because maybe going in the office kind of creeped me out. It's so many options out there. And I'm actually in the show notes, I'm going to link I'm going to send a link to Therapy for Black Girls. That's the service that I use, just for you to start looking there, because it's helpful. Like, this stuff is helpful. And I'll also link Psychology Today as well, just so that you can really get started on just your healing journey. And maybe you may feel that this episode ain't for you, that you ain't doing the therapy thing. I want you to take this time to really pause and maybe take it over the course of your next week. Take it over the course of your next week. Write it down. If you write down your prayers, say it out loud in your quiet time with God. Like, spend time really talking to God about You know, if you're triggered now, if you're in this space and you know that you're constantly being reminded of the same trigger over and over and over again, and it feels like things are just not making sense and, you know, you keep getting upset, you know, sit that thing right before God. Say, God, you know, is therapy an option? Do I need to go talk to someone? Do I need to really get in this place of processing this? Check it out with God. That's the one thing I could say. A lot of things on this podcast, but one thing I'm going to do 99.9% of the time, probably 100, okay, is I'm always going to direct you back to God. I'm always going to say, go pray about it, sis, or, you know, go sit with this thing before God, because at the end of the day, God has the final say. So that would be something that to take into your prayer time. Like, is therapy the option for me, God? Where do you see fit for me in this season of my healing? So that is all I have for you on this episode, and I will talk to you next week.